Scarlight here, and welcome to day 5 of the Trick or Treat versus the OU tier. Yesterday went super well. Hope to keep that trend up, and sorry I forgot to put Coco as MVP until the last battle. Very unfortunate on my end. But yeah, let's see how the games go today. So here's our first matchup here, and instantly we can see massive threats. The Dragon Bolt, the Revile, the Rolling Moon, all massive threats. Plus with the lower Ninetales potentially getting Aurora Veil is very scary. So I decided to lead off with Blink here, predicting the lower Ninetales. But they end up leaving with Revile, and again they're not going to expect the True Scarf, so we instantly get the KO on a massive threat, which is fantastic. Then I go into a low with Ninetales. I figure yeah, I do stay in here, go for the Make It Rain again, because it's 4 times weak, it should still get the KO. So now they just go into Iron Treads, so we just go into Poppy, so we don't have to worry about any Earthquakes. And they reveal Steel Beam, and unfortunately we miss our Will-Wisp. I think this was a bit of a misplay. I should have went for the Defog to get rid of the Stealth Fox. And unfortunately Poppy does go down very early on, but we go bring back in Bling, so we don't need to worry about the Ninetales. We can just go for the Make It Rain. They opt to stay in, which is fantastic, but we're still not out the woods yet, even though we're 5-3. The Iron Crown's a massive threat to the team, same with the Dragon Pulse and the Rolling Moon. So we've got a lot to go with here. So I decided to go to Echo here to scout what they will go do. They do end up going for the Agility. And I think me staying in here was a misplay. Because the Disguise would have been very useful against the Rolling Moon. And if Shadow and knowing that they're most likely weakness party with the set as well, going for the Shadow Sneak here was a massive misplay on my end. And yeah, unfortunately to get the Carmine up too, we should have just switched in straight into Coco instantly, our MVP. And yeah, we're taking too much damage, so we can't really barely recover. And yeah, we might live on 3%, but now that Rolling Moon is looking so deadly, combined with the Dragon Pulse too. So they end up going to Dragon Pulse, which does make sense, and I decided to let just Coco go down here. Then we can just go to Bling, go for a nice Shadow Ball, get the KO, and then they bring in Rolling Moon here. And I believe, yeah, we do go into Randall as they do go for Dragon Dance. And here's the biggest misplay I think I made the entire battle. I should not have wasted my Teller here. I should have predicted it would be Tail Flying, or should have predicted that they would tell it. Just very poor decision on my part there to tell it, because then Peak would have took some hits. Even we could have just tell it fighting. Not really tell fighting, but we could have just tell it Peak, take some hits, try to get some recovers, especially when we got the Toxic plus the Confusion. So that was the biggest mistake. That was the biggest mistake on my part there. And let's go into the next battle. So that's our first loss, unfortunately. And here's our next battle here. We have a very deadly team again, with the Iron Crown, the King Gambit, and the Dragon Pulse combined with the Glasgow. It's going to be a very tough matchup. So we do lead off with Bling, hoping that they stay in with Dragon Pulse here, so we can instantly get rid of this massive threat. But let's see what they do. They do just go for the safe play, which is correct on their part, and just go straight into Blissey. So we just go into Poppy here to scout what they want to do. And they do decide to get up to Stealth Fox, and then they reveal Thunder Wave. So we just go for the Will-Wisp just to get a bit of residual burn, even with the natural core, just to force the Blissey out, because Blissey is such a massive threat to the team. Because we have Echo as our physical attacker, which is very unfortunate. Again, one of the main weaknesses of Ghost types is most of them are special. So we get fully powered again, unfortunately, against the Hattorian. So we end up just going into Bling, as they will go to full car mine, so we just end up going for the trick here, so we can lock them into one move. Don't need to worry about store power or the moon blast, just locking them into one move. Perfect scenario for us. So that's what I decided to do. And they do just end up going for a side shot, probably predicting switch, and we got the red card, so we force in the garage door, which is not a favourable matchup for us. So we instantly switch out into Poppy, because Poppy can take Glasgow on 1v1, and they double into Iron Crown. And I think, yeah, we do just end up going for defog. Full switch does a lot of damage to Poppy, unfortunately. And they can just bring back in Blissey to take it all day, or even a Hatterene. And we get fully powered yet again. So, very worried about these defogs. I think that was a bit of a misplay on my part. Should have been too focused on trying to get that defog off. But we see that they lock themselves into Side Shock again, so we can just go into Bling. Nice safe play. Then we can, I think we just end up going for the mid-kill lane, or we do the double, predicting the Blissey. Yeah, we do just stay in, go for the mid-kill lane, and we get the KO on the Hatterene. The clip might have mattered there, which is a bit unfortunate, but they was locked into Side Shock anyway. I think they was using it for a sack. So they go back into Iron Crown here. We have to let Poppy go down, unfortunately. So the guard score's a bit of a threat right now because of that. But yeah, so now we just go to Coco against the Iron Crown to see what they will want to do. We are super effective. So they just end up going for a false switch. Does very little damage, which looks very promising. And the Blissey I did not mind too much because we can just keep stacking our special attack up. And as you can see, we're already doing 20% we are +2. And I was really stoked with this, just get some damage off the Dragon Pull, but again we unfortunately get fully powered here. And I think I made a mistake here terrestrializing to try to get rid of this mob. I know it was a massive threat, but we just had Coco in the back right there. Even our Randall could have just took that little hex, and then we might be able to OHKO with a Dragon Darts. And yeah, that will come back into play later. So they will just go for a Psychic Noise. Unfortunately, Bling is now out. So we just end up trying to get the Will-O-Wisp buff on the Iron Crown, as they reveal to be Teller Dark, which is one of the worst tellers for us to really against. So we end up just going for the U-turn. And then we do end up just going into Peak, predicting the Tachyon Cutter again, but they end up predicting that and go for a Psychic Noise, get the KO on Peak. So we're in a very, very tough spot here. So we just end up going for the Dragon Darts, hoping to get the KO, as they will just go into Glasgow here. So I really want to get as much damage as possible. So we end up going for the Hex, which I think was the right play. In hindsight, I think the massive misplay was telling Coco here. So we end up getting the KO on the Glasgow again. We get the quit, which is very lucky. Could have really mattered as well, especially it was very defensive Glasgow. But again, it's Pokemon, there's nothing you can really do with that. So they now end up going to King Gambit. We do have our Drain Punch, we instantly get the KO, and we're looking in a very, very good spot. But then the Iron Crown can just get the KO on us, especially now it's Teller Dark. Very unfortunate, and then they can just get the KO from here with the Tachyon Cutter. So again, very, very close game. Massive misplay. I think I should have just switched out into Bling as a KO, or even going to Randall. Hope we get the speed tie against the Dragon Put there, because having Teller Mimikyu near the end there to Teller fighting for them to go for the Tachyon Cutter, hope to take the hits, go for the Drain Punch, the Blissey is left, and we would have got the KO. But again, very, very close game, and yeah, was very, very happy how well I performed overall, even though we did make some misplays along the way. Never be too harsh on yourself, and let's go into the next one. Which is going to be right now. And again, another massive threat War and Moon, King Gambit. The Iron Moth can be a bit threatening too. So we lead off with Randall, and they lead off with War and Moon. In hindsight here, I should have went for Lilith, predicting the Teller, and the Teller steal. So we lose our fastest, one of our most fastest monsters straight away. Can be so deadly to the team. So deadly to the team it could have been. We lost a really key member at the start, and you see I'm trying to think of who to really get into now. Again, just very confused of who to go into. I think we do end up just going to Echo, so we can just go for the nice Drain Punch, get the super effective damage off. But yeah, in hindsight, we should have went for the Will-O-Wisp there. Then the War and Moon would have been such a big of a threat. So I'm just going to go for the Drain Punch. And now we can try get the KO with the Shadow Sneak, but they do switch out into Iron Moth. Knowing that we can take one hit, I end up going for Swords Dance here. But again, in hindsight, I should have really switched out. No reason not to switch out into Coco in this position. I think just like last time when we were against Iron Moth, I really made a bit of a misplay with letting Coco go a bit too down HP, and I think I was scared of that. So I think that's why I decided to just go with Echo, go for the Shadow Sneak. Unfortunately, they do get the KO on us. And again, we're already so down, so we end up just going to Coco now, which again we should have went for in the first place. They do just go for the Sludge Wave. We do have our Talk Song. We can get the +1, which is fantastic. They end up just going for Sludge Wave again. We get the other Talk Song off with our +2, but again the King Gambit could come in, or the Zamazenta, or the Rolling Moon. So again, I'm thinking about Telling here, just to really get rid of this massive threat being Rolling Moon. And we do end up Telling. I don't think this was a misplay, and unfortunately they do get the crit on us. So we just end up healing back to full anyway. And then I'm panicking because it's like, oh, it's Telesteel, they might have Iron Head, but they do just immediately switch out into Cinderace. So we do a lot of damage to the Cinderace. But again, I don't want Coco to really get that low, so we just go into Peach. And they do just go for the Power Ball. Predicted a switch out into the King Gambit here. So I was thinking who to go into, and I don't think I should have went Poppy here. I think I should have went into Bling. It was a free Shadow Ball from there, which is very unfortunate, as they will just go out to Golden Fire. And I think this is where I make another big misplay. I just switching straight into Coco, predicting the Dragon Dance, and they just end up going for the Flare Blitz. And unfortunately, 2 Flare Blitz knocks Coco out. So we can just go to Bling now, opt to try go for the Shadow Ball. But they end up surviving and getting another Flare Blitz off, which is a massive threat because now the King Gambit just was both of our members. So we end up getting the KO with the War and Moon, with our Aftermath ability on Poppy, which was great. But again, I think it's too late now, and I just keep clicking Hex here, knowing that it's over. I don't know why they saw us as an Iron Head, but yeah, unfortunately, again, I think the biggest misplay right there, I switched straight into Coco there. I think I should have let Poppy go there, because Golden Fire took a lot of damage from the Flare Blitz recoil because of how high our HP stat is, plus the Aftermath, plus then we can go into Blink, go for the Shadow Ball. If the Shadow Ball doesn't KO, then the recoil from the Flare Blitz would have KO'd the Golden Fire. That should have been my play there. We still had Coco around, but then again, it would be very hard to really counter that King Gambit at the end game right there. So unfortunate, we've lost three times in a row. Do we catch up? Let's find out. So here's our next game here, where we have Darkrai, massive threat, King Gambit, massive threat, Rolling Moon, massive threat. So 3 massive Dark type threats yet again. But can we pull through this time? So we end up just leading up Randall, predicting the Gomorrah where we can just go for a Will-O-Wisp and then a Hex. So that was my game plan during this turn. Just was really hoping that they don't have Dazzle and Green. But by looking at the team, it does look like a entry hazard lead, which normally they run Power Gem, Air Power and Sludge Wave if it's the entry hazard lead. So I'm feeling pretty good with my decision. Unfortunately, they did disconnect, but they do end up reconnecting. Sorry, I forgot to cut this out. Oh, went a bit too far there. So yeah, we end up getting the Will-O-Wisp off. They do end up going for the Stealth Rocks. As we go for the Hex, they reveal Red Card and they bring out Peach, which is very unfortunate because Peach does look quite decent, especially against the Zamazenta and potentially the War Moon if we get this out of. So we just end up going back into Randall, predicting the Air Power, which they do go for, and then we can just finish it off with a Hex, which is fantastic. So they end up going to Darkrai, so I am just going to go for the U-turn here, to scout if it's Chilly Scarf, to scout if it's not, and stuff like that. So it turns out they're not Chilly Scarf, so we can just go into Echo to guarantee take the hit, which is fantastic for us. And then we just end up just going for the Drain Punch to get some HP back from the Dark Pulse, but we do force the Terror out, which is fantastic. They do Terror Poison. At this point we can just go into Blink, go for the Shadow Ball. Again, I don't think they go expect the Chilly Scarf. But now that they know we have it, they can switch into one of the other two Dark type Pons, which is very, very scary. Indeed. So yeah, we end up getting the KO on the Darkrai, which is fantastic. They end up going into Roaring Moon. And I'm trying to think of what to really do. Who do we let go? So we do let Poppy go here because I don't think Poppy can roll that much that Peach can't. So Poppy does end up going down, but we do get the Aftermath off. Then we can just go into Coco. Then we can just go for Terra Fairy, go for the Will-O-Wisp, and really just stop the damage from the Roaring Moon ever happening now, which is fantastic. We can just go for a Slack Off. Roaring Moon is definitely not a threat to the team anymore. The only massive threat really left to the team at the moment is the Kingambit, as he revealed Taunt. So luckily they did not go for that earlier when we went for the Will-O-Wisp. They end up just going for the Acrobatics, but we did force the Terror. So the Roaring Moon this time is not going to do anything to us, and we do get the KO, which is fantastic. Another massive threat straight out the way. And I believe they go into Zamazenta here, and then we can just Slack Off even if they are... Oh no, we just go for the Will-O-Wisp. Even if they are Heavy Slam, it should not be doing enough. And now that the Zamazenta's burned, Coco can just go back to full. They end up just going for the War, which is completely fine. I believe we just go for the Trick here, yep. Try trick the Kingambit coming in, but they just end up going into the Enamorus, which is very, very scary, especially now with Air Power is such a free move to go for here. But again, we still have Coco, which is now Terra Fairy, so we just end up going back into Coco to take the Air Power, our MVP. And we can just go for Slack Off again, knowing that they're Chilly Scarf, they have to switch out. And they end up just staying in, hoping for some damage. Now we can go for some Talk Songs, try and really not let that Kingambit come in for free. As they will just go for Air Power one more time, they will just go straight back into Zamazenta. We can now just go for the Hex, as they will just opt to go for the War, which is absolutely fine. They bring in Randall. We just end up going for the U-turn here, because again, I do not want them to get any type of momentum, especially with the Kingambit straight in the back. So we end up just going to Coco, see what move they want to go. I think I just went for Talk Song here. I don't think it was necessary to go for Slack Off, but maybe I think I was feeling Moonblast to see how much Moonblast did, but they just end up going for the Mystical Fire. So I'm debating here to go into Peach, and the reason why is because we shouldn't take any type of damage from the Mystical Fire. So yeah, we do end up going to Peach because of that. But again, me bringing Peach in really doesn't fight that Kingambit. That's the only issue. But they do end up doubling, so it does work in our favour. We can just go for the nice, simple recover now. And the Zamazenta is very, very low. They end up going for the Heavy Slam. Gives us a free recover. which is completely fine. And then we'll just go for the passing shot in to bring, knowing that we were faster that turn, that they were going for the wall. Again, good as gold where he comes in clutch. So we can just go for a Shadow Ball. Even if they switch into King Gambit, getting a bit of damage off on the King Gambit is completely necessary. We take out the Enamelist, which is fantastic. The Zama Center comes in and they're going to let that go down, so the King Gambit is at 5 KOs. Going to be at full power, especially after a Swords Dance. So it's a very, very tough situation to be in, but I was fine and calm at this point. Because we still had Randall, we can just now go for the Will-Wisp. We instantly get the burn, even now the KO Randall. The combination of Coco and Peak, I don't think they can really take out. So we just end up going to Hex on the King Gambit with Peak, which does a decent 23%. They just end up going for the Cause Out Cleave, we can just go for the Recover. No reason not to. They predict the Recover here, just go straight for the Swords Dance. But even at +2, because of the burn, it's still doing quite a bit to Peach, but now Peach can just recover stall with the burn slowly taking it down. So we win this one, very, very close one indeed. Very happy that we dealt with the King Gambit in a very, very good way there. Keeping Randall until the end. Make sure we get that Will-Wisp off because they cannot outspeed us or anything like that. Again, only if the King Gambit is Terrafire. That's the only way they would have came back from that. But again, they already used their Terror on the Darkrai. So yeah, really, really good and close game. I'm so happy we deal with them 3 Dark types. Let's go into the next game. But yeah, it's just that was such a nice victory. And here's our next game here. We're having a Rain team. Massive threat, definitely the Battle Legion plus the Berserker, but more importantly as well, the Raging Bolt. We did unfortunately almost got swept by Raging Bolt last time we against it, and that's because we brought Coco straight in against it instead of Echo. So I definitely learned from that mistake and definitely learned it with this battle. So they lead off with Berserker, which just gives us a nice free Will-Wisp. They definitely will have to flip turn here, maybe the flip turn to Pelipper, that I was thinking. Was also kind of thinking the Iron Treads as well, but yeah, just because Randall resists both resist its stab, resist the coverage of close combat, there was no real way they was going to stay in here unless it was Crunch. So they end up just going to Iron Treads and we get the Will-Wisp on it, which is fantastic. Now we can just go for the Hex as he sets up Stealth Rocks. And we instantly get rid of Iron Treads, which is phenomenal. Again, it really just gives some freedom. End up going for Dragon Dogs here in case they want to switch out maybe into Rolling Moon or maybe into Pelipper. So just to get that a bit more damage off, as they will now just go into Rolling Moon. And this to me screams they're going to Terra Raging Bolt. As they do. So we end up going for the U-turn, we go straight into Echo, do not want to risk Coco getting low against this mod, and they do end up staying and going for the Dragon Pulse. So a really, really good turn for us. So we just end up going for the Flame Wolf, nice neutral damage. As they do end up just going to the Pelipper, which does take quite a bit of damage from Echo, which is fantastic. And then I was debating whether just to stay in, go for Flame Wolf again, try to wear this down. But I'm really, really valuing the Disguise at the moment because I know the Raging Bolt could sweep the late game. So we end up going to Poppy because Poppy's not super useful this matchup now because we got rid of the Iron Treads. So that's why we end up just going to Poppy, which again is fantastic for us. They end up just going into Berserker. We do just go for the Defog, just so we don't need to worry about the rocks. Again, I think it was a bit of a misplay on my part. I should have just went for Will-Wisp. No reason not to if they went to Raging Bolt, which I believe they do go into. Yeah, they do go into Raging Bolt. And at this point, I'm just like, we can just let Poppy go down. And they do just go for the Weather Ball. So they reveal Dragon Pulse, Weather Ball. So I'm thinking what the last 2 moves are. Definitely one of them must be Thunderclap and maybe Thunder. But we can now just go to Bring, just go for the Make It Rain, get an instant KO on the Raging Bolt if they do choose to stay in. Which I don't think they really should. As they do not want to risk it. They do just go into the Ogre Palm, which does make complete sense. And my logic here is that we can now just go into Randall, because Randall should take any one hit as long as they don't get a crit on the Ivy Cudgel, which they don't, which is fantastic. Now we can really just weaken the Ogre Palm by just going for the Will-O-Wisp, making Ogre Palm not a physical threat anymore, which is fantastic for the team, especially later on in the battle. So yeah, that's really, really awesome to see. Getting a nice KO, getting a nice burn on the Ogre Palm is fantastic. As they do end up going for the crit this time with the Ivy Cudgel, but at this point it didn't really matter. So at this point I'm just thinking, who to go into. We just go into Bling, knowing that we can take an Ivy Cudgel, and fine, even if they do get the crit because of the burn. We can just go for a nice free Shadow Ball. Nothing in their team really wants to take it. And they do opt to actually stay in and go for the U-turn, which I was very surprised. I thought they would have switched maybe into Raging Bolt. But again, I'm very scared of that mom. Very scared, as they will now go Raging Bolt because they realise we're Chewy Scarf and not a defensive set. So they do end up going for the Thunderclap as we just go back into Echo, which is fantastic. We can now just go for the Play Rough and get some nice damage on something. If not the Raging Bolt, could be the Pale Bear, could be they let the Ogre Palm go. Which, if I was in their shoes, I probably would have done. I think that was a bit of misplay on my opponent going into Pelipper, because now Pelipper does not take another Play Rough, and now we can take Pelipper out too. So now they're very limited on their weighing turns. They do still have 6 turns of weighing, but again, we still haven't Teller yet. And Peach, if we manage to deal with the Raging Bolt, Peach Water Teller, looks like they can't really beat it. So they end up just going to Baxter Legion here. And I'm just thinking, okay, we can let the Disguise go. Again, a bit of a risky play, but we still have Bling in the back, which I'm pretty sure can take one Thunderclap. Especially now it's not boosted energy with special attack boost. So they do just end up going for the flip turn. We end up just going for one more Shadow Sneak, let Echo go down, get a nice safe free switching. Which is again going to be so handy for us, just get the nice safe switching. So we get a nice little damage off as we go for the flip turn. And I believe they just go into Ogre Palm here. No, back into Baxter Legion. Now we can just go to Peach. Nice free time to just go to Peach, go for the Hex, and hopefully get the KO on the Baxter Legion. They do end up wave crashing, which doesn't do much to Peach at all, and we end up getting the KO on the Baxter Legion, which is fantastic. Obviously very scared of the Raging Bolt, but they end up going to Ogre Palm, maybe to try to get a bit of HP back. But again, I don't know. I think they should have just went into Raging Bolt in this position, as they reveal the Encore. So at this point, I was like, okay, we need to go to Blink. Do not want the Raging Bolt coming in for free. And they just go for the Horn Leech again, try to get a bit of recovery. And I make a bit of prediction here. And instead of going for Shadow Ball, we just go for the Make It Rain, because if we can catch that Raging Bolt, we have won the game from here. And that's exactly what happens. They force in the Raging Bolt, and we get the KO with the Make It Rain, which is fantastic. Again, the Ogre Palm is banned. We still have a fully healthy Peach in the back. It can take all the moves all day long. They can go for liquidation, but it's not rain boosted anymore either. And we're slowly making a comeback with our loss and win ratio. It's now going to be 3-2, and our opponent does just forfeit right there. We're getting a very intense game. Very was manful about the Raging Bolt until near the end, because again, with the rain gone, with the Make It Rains at this position, even if they switch into Barrascuda is not going to take another Make It Rain, nor is the Ogre Palm, and then we could have just kept switching out. Along if the last move wasn't Calm Mind, we was in a very good position right there. Let's go into our last game. And here's our last game here. And again, so many just massive threats. The Weavile, the Syrian Sam was such a massive threat. We led with Echo, believing that they would lead with the Assyrian Samwat, but they lead with the Tornadoes. So I'm a bit concerned here. Do I really want to let the Disguise Ghostway away? No, so we just end up going to Bling, take the Bleak Windstorm, looks to be very, very offensive. I should have went for the Make It Way instead of Shadow Ball here. Unfortunately, they do miss the Heat Wave there, and then they go into Assyrian Samwat, which does make sense, does quite a bit of damage. But we do not have any safe free switching into this mon, apart from Echo. And then we just opt to just go for the Play Wolves, as they do just go into Corviknight. Again, very unfortunate, as revealed to be Rocky Helmet too. So we end up going into Poppy, see what the Corviknight wants to do. They just do decide to U-turn. Which again, a very, very good play on the opponents, just keeping that nice momentum. Really fortunate right there. As they end up going to Walk and Wake, and at this point I'm looking at Poppy, and I was like, I don't think Poppy can really do that much. So we end up going for the Will-O-Wisp, see what they will go for. They do end up going for the High Ghost team. So knowing that they're most likely choice back and locked into it, we end up going into Wandle. And we are looking in a very, very good position at the moment, and we can just go for the Dragon Dart. I really should have went for the Will-O-Wisp there, bit of a misplay on my part, thinking that they would switch out. So we end up just going to Peach to see if they went for the Moonblast, but they just went for the Surf. We can take another Surf, and they do get the recover off. And unfortunately they go back into Tornadoes, which is very, very scary. But I predict that they would not go for the Bleak Storm. I did not predict that, but I predicted the U-turn there, and we get some nice damage off, but unfortunately not the Toxic, which is a bit unfortunate. But we end up just going to Bring, and they do decide to Teleblast, and they are Terra Ground, which is a massive, massive threat, especially revealing it this late into the game too. Very, very scary. Very, very scary indeed. So we end up just going to Coco, knowing that we can easily take it, along if we can just go for the Terra Fairy, and then we can just go for the Talk Song. No, but we end up going for Slack Off again. I think that was a bit of a misplay. Coco would have been fine at that range of health, and then they end up just going to Walk and Wake. So obviously they just go for the High Ghost team again, which I think we should be able to take fine, and we do take 42%, but it really does go down here. And then they bring in Primarina, they reveal the Psychic Noise, as we just go for the Slack Off. They will just go for the Flip Turn, as we did go for the Will-O-Wisp on the Weavile, which is fantastic. Coco again looking such a nice defensive threat, just like in yesterday's battle. Very, very confident at the moment that we've got this in the bag. But then again, the Primarina now comes in, as they will just go for the Moonblast. We end up just going for the Will-O-Wisp from this position, and we should have just went for the Hex here. We know they had Psychic Noise, and unfortunately they did block our heal. If we just went for Hex there, we would have been fine. Coco still might have been around just to get the KO on the Primarina. But unfortunately, because of that misplay, Coco does end up going down to the Primarina, which is very, very unfortunate. We end up going for the Defog. Again, I think that was a misplay on my part. I think I've been a bit too worried about hazards lately. I should have just went for the Hex, got the KO on the Primarina right there. Because again, could have been very useful late game, and we end up just finish off the Primarina with Randall. And at this point, I believe I'm making another massive misplay. I should have U-turned, but we end up Will-Wisping. And the reason why this is such a massive misplay is because Randall is the only thing that outspeeds the Thunder in Tornadoes. So now that Tornadoes is gone, and it reveals to be very defensive Assyrian Samwat 2, which is again very unfortunate. We do end up getting the KO, but now Tornadoes can just come in and go off for the Teleblast. We should have went for Shadow Sneak there for a better chip. We barely live. We do get the Toxic and the Confusion. They do hit themselves in Confusion. I'm thinking there's still a bit of hope left, but then I realised there's still a Corviknight. Yeah, and the Corviknight just can come in here. We can just go for Hex, and I should have noticed this earlier too. But again, unfortunately, I let Randall go. If I didn't let Randall go here, we could have got the burn on the Corviknight as well. The Tornadus win wasn't that defensive, and I should have recognised as well that they didn't have pressure on their Corviknight. So I made a bit of misplays on that part. At this point, I know it's over. And I don't know why I was going for the military chain again. I was still processing that they was mirror armor and not pressure. And yeah, now they can just go for the nasty pot. And yeah, instantly get the KO on a peak. And unfortunately, that's GG. We won 2 and lost 4 today. So a bit down on our win to loss ratio, but not by much. The team's still performing amazingly well. Definitely made some big misplays there. I think I was panicked in some of the barrels. Again, I should have just went for U-turn on the Isuna and Samwa. Went into even Peak, because Peak wasn't that useful at that point. Went to Peak, let Peak take on the Seaforth Edge. But yeah, unfortunately, but then again, I don't know if that really would have changed the game that much, because the Tornadus was not status with anything, so we would really have to rely on Dragon Dart to try get the KO, and for us to have a miss, for them to miss the Bleak Windstorm, or not to get the KO on the Teleblast. But amazing battles either way, very, very close games, and I'll see you on the MVP screen. Back on the MVP screen, and today's MVP is still Coco with 29 KOs, and we've still got 2 days left. I wonder, can Coco try to get to 40 KOs? But there is one member, I'll let you know now, Bling, that is only 4 KOs behind as well, so it definitely seems like a battle with them two at the moment. Again, unfortunately with our win and loss ratio today, again, points out the misplays I made. I kind of wish I didn't make them, but again, just one of them days. And honestly, the record's still going very, very strong. And yeah, overall, very, very proud with this team. Really awesome to see. It really performed well. Even though we haven't really seen Poppy do much really offensively, I think Poppy's done amazing defensively and really has added to the really team structure. Even if Poppy doesn't really get KOs as much, the aftermath, after effect can really pop in. Poppy just getting 1 or 2 will-whiffs off on some offensive mons, really handy. And yeah, honestly, very happy with the team all around. And with all that said, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.